very important process to be concluded. Let's just have a conversation with a voice of authority in this particular matter, who happens to be Reverend Dr. Lennoxie Lusabe. He is the University Secretary and Legal Officer at Tangaza University right here in the country. He's joining us via way of phone. Reverend, it's great to have you with us. Let's just reflect on what we're seeing right now. Black smoke emanating from the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel, indicating that, you know what, the 133 cardinals have not yet decided on who the next pope will be. Kindly break down for us, how exactly will this process continue? How long might it take? How long until the Roman Catholic faithful see white smoke on the roof? Of course, borrowing from previous conclaves that have been held at the Sistine Chapel. Over to you.
Okay, thank you for having me. I would like to start by saying that actually what is important is the number, because for the election of the Pope, those who are capturing as cardinals voting, there should be a 2/3 majority voting for the Pope. So if you don't have a 2/3 majority, we are going to continue having the black smoke. And today it's one ballot. Tomorrow we shall have 2 ballots in the morning if they don't get the 2/3 majority. In the afternoon, they will also have 2 ballots. So after 3 days, if they haven't gotten the 2/3 majority, they will have a break of 1 day for prayer, for talking, for just reflecting on what's happening, and then the following day they will take over again.
Oh, thank you for breaking that down for us. So the next 3 days will be quite critical in terms of getting a new pope, and if not, they'll take a break and then continue thereafter in terms of the conclave process. But tell us, a little bit earlier on, we saw the cardinals taking, is it an oath of secrecy, where they vowed to observe absolute and perpetual secrecy. Why is this? We're currently in the 21st century, and news travels really fast, especially with the penetration of social media. So why exactly should they take an oath of secrecy? And perhaps break down for us why the Sistine Chapel is locked out. You know, the cardinals are locked out of the outside world and put there for the next 3 days in order to get a pope. Break down for us.
Yes, a little bit of history. The Catholic Church has had a leader as a pope, both for spiritual and temporal leadership. And so in the history of the church, we have had some influence from the temporal world, with some politicians trying to influence the papacy. And therefore, at some point around 1268, when actually it took like 2 years and 9 months to elect a pope, they realized that for them to elect a spiritual leader, because the pope is, first of all, a spiritual leader, and for them to elect a spiritual leader without the influence from outside, they had to lock themselves. The word conclave has 2 Latin words for lock and keys. So they should be locked and then the keys to be taken away, so that they remain locked in one place, and then they can be able to, without the influence from the outside, they can be able to elect a spiritual leader. As they are locked, actually, they are not supposed to be in contact with the outside world, not even newspapers, not phones, not anything, so that they are going to elect a spiritual leader influenced by the Holy Spirit, not by what the world wants.
Okay, Reverend, talk to us about the voting process. I know you mentioned that they need 2/3 majority on a particular candidate, the preferred successor, but is it a secret ballot? Do these cardinals vote in view of the other cardinals? Is it a secret ballot? How then do they announce how the voting has been cast?
Actually, in the past, there were 3 methods. We could have acclamation, and we could also have compromise, and also a secret ballot. But with John Paul II, he decided that we should just have one method of voting for a pope, and that is a secret ballot. So each cardinal is going, actually the voting is on the altar. Each cardinal receives a ballot paper. He goes at the altar, he prays silently, and then he declares his intention publicly to the other electors listening, that I am doing it out of my conscience after I have prayed. And then he puts his ballot in the box. So all the cardinals are going to do that, and after that, we have what we call the election officials. Actually, there are three types: those who are going to receive the ballot, and those who are going to scrutinize it, and those who are going to revise. So that the scrutinizers who are scrutinizing the vote, they have to do it, three of them. One of them will first look at the vote and then confirm and write down the name, pass it to the second one. The second one also looks at it and writes it down and passes to the third one. The third one looks at it and announces. So they will do that for all the votes. And even after announcing, those who are revisers, they will come back to look at what the scrutineers have done, so that they just confirm that the votes that were counted are the votes that actually were what we say, they were cast. So that it is exactly the person, the number of votes. If the number of votes is more than those who are voting, then the balloting will be cancelled.
Okay, thanks for breaking that intricate process for us. I just want to ask, because borrowing from history or looking at the past, how long or how short have these conclave processes been? What's the longest conclave process we've had? What's one of the shortest conclave processes we've had?
Actually, like I said, in 1268, we had an election that lasted for almost 3 years. So the Pope was elected in 1271. And that was a long time, because if there is a deadlock, if you don't have a 2/3 majority, it's never going to be announced. But of course, things have changed sometimes. It will even take 2 days and then you have the Pope. So what is important is that when the cardinals are inside there, they are praying, and if a candidate is an obvious one, they are not going to last for long, because every ballot, they must get 2/3 majority. So for example, we have started today. So we'll go, if we get a Pope before the 3 days, that is well and good. If we don't, then they will break. When they come back, they will keep voting. If for 7 ballots they don't have a Pope, they will also break again and then go into prayer and reflection. Then again, the next day they will have 7 ballots. So if they don't get the Pope after 4 like times the 7 ballots, then they will take the 2 who are leading. Because right now they are just going through the names, and maybe one will have 10 votes, 20. But after the 28th ballot, they will reduce to 2 people. But even those 2 people, the leader must have a 2/3 majority.
Okay.
If the leader doesn't have a 2/3 majority, they will keep voting until they get one.
Well, that's well noted. Lennoxie, talk to us about the qualities that the cardinals will be looking out for. Well, what qualities do you believe are the most important for the next pope to possess in leading the global Catholic community?
I would say that in the laws that are stipulated, there are no qualities. And actually, the first quality is that you are a cardinal below the age of 81, because of course, they can even actually elect one who's beyond 81 or beyond 80. So the quality is that you are a cardinal, and the fact that you are a cardinal, you qualify to be pope. But of course, there are other important qualities. For example, a pope is the one who unites the whole church. It's a symbol of Christ. And therefore, they are looking at someone who is going to unite the church and bring stability. Because one of the things about the Catholic Church that it cherishes is stability. So a pope who will come and stabilize the church and even the world, and that's a very good characteristic or quality. But as I've said, the qualities are not laid down in the law, but we can see from common sense that actually we need a pope who is going to be a uniter, a pope who is going to lead the church through all these challenges that the world is having.
Let's talk about these challenges. What are some of the key issues and challenges facing the Catholic Church globally that the new Pope, once elected, will need to address?
I would say that the church is part of the world, and what the world is facing today is the issue of secularism. And so if you look at Europe, Pope Benedict talked about new evangelization. We have had secularism and materialism also even affecting the church. So the church that is supposed to lead by example is supposed to help the world to realize that we are all pilgrims, and we are supposed to take care of our spiritual life. And therefore, all these material things and all these other challenges that are there, that they're just passing. And therefore, we look to this world, but the life in the world, in the life after.
That's good to note, Lennoxie. Talk to us about the reformist point of view versus the traditional point of view, because there's some who drew comparisons to Pope Francis. He definitely brought a lot of reforms to the Catholic Church, but the old school of thought that, you know what, this is the Catholic Church steeped in traditions, and perhaps we need someone to connect both. So how do we strike a balance between a reformist pope and one who will still uphold traditions that have been there for centuries?
I think I'll go to one of the cardinals who was asked the same question, and I will actually answer the same way he did. You see, the world is looking at everything from the point of view of liberal and conservative. But for us in the Catholic Church, we talk of orthodoxy, because the church is one. The church started by Christ is one. It teaches the same truths, and therefore it is a church that is supposed to be faithful to those truths. We don't care if whether we are taught the world is talking of liberal or conservative, but we speak the truth. And the Pope that is going to take over is the one who speaks that truth. Is not one who is going to please anyone, whether conservative or liberal. But that is orthodox, that is speaking the truth of Christ himself.
Indeed, Lennoxie, this conclave will feature a diverse perspective of cardinals from more than 70 countries, is it? And this scope is seen as a legacy of Pope Francis, who appointed 80% of those eligible to vote in an effort to expand the church's global reach. Most of these cardinals have never met before this week, and their task is not expected to be easy. What are the key issues from where you sit that they will need to determine whether to proceed on the path of Pope Francis, a pontiff who pushed boundaries but did not break them, or are they looking for a mender, a mediator? Is it a charismatic pastor who knows how to be close to the people?
I will say that they will look for someone who is, as I've said, a uniter. Someone who is going to bring people on the table and say, all of you are children of God, But at the same time, it's not about compromising the teachings of the church to please some people, but it's about doing what is right. And I think that's what the church wants, and that's what the world wants, to have someone who is principled, but at the same time also accommodative of other peoples.
Okay, as we finalize, Lennoxie, has there ever been a time in history where the cardinals got it wrong? You know, if you don't learn from history, you're bound to repeat it.
I would say that there is a lot that goes into the election of the Pope. And we rely so much on the Holy Spirit. As I said, in the past, there were political influences, and those could have precipitated some of the wrong decisions. I can't say that there is no Pope that was doubted. There were some popes that were doubted, but because of the elections and the process of the election, but that was tightened, as I've said, since the 13th century, so that actually we rely more on the Holy Spirit than we rely on our powers and the political influences from outside. You see, like in the past, we have had countries trying to influence where do you come from and which pope should be there to support our country. That used to be there in the past. But ever since we corrected the situation, we rely now on the Holy Spirit. The cardinals are praying very hard. The whole world, the Christians are praying so that we get a pope that we have been given by the Holy Spirit to lead us through.
Well, thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Lennoxie Lusabe, joining us via phone link. And he is the Secretary and Legal Officer at Tangaza University, just helping us break down this all-important process that kick-started today, the conclave process, where 133 cardinals, all under age 80, are locked into the Sistine Chapel, in order to vote in the next pope. Thank you so much for your contribution right here, even as we continue monitoring the developments playing out in Vatican. The latest being black smoke is emanating from the chimney, indicating that the 133 cardinals have not yet decided on who exactly will be taking over from the late Pope Francis as the next pope. So it's not yet habemus papum. We will definitely keep you updated on what exactly transpires at Vatican, even as those live pictures are on your screen, all to do with the black smoke that indicates the cardinals have not yet decided on who is the new leader of the 1.4 billion Catholics. That's a process that is set to continue for at least the next 3 days. As we were just broken down by the Reverend, if they haven't decided on the next pope, which is a 2/3 majority, they will break after 3 days, perhaps pray, deliberate, and then go back for the next processes of voting. Trust KTN to keep you updated on the very latest from Vatican. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of KTN Prime. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're adequately informed. On behalf of the entire team, including our sign language interpreter, Meresha Owiti, we say good evening. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.